Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to HJN yet again. So for this part in Honest J. Nowak, as we are closing to the year 2020 and opening up to the year 2021, we will expect a lot to happen. Quite a lot of things to happen. But for right now, it's time to keep going through the remaining weeks of the whole year itself. And what better way to do that than, well, for me to carry on with HJN. What I got today is, well, I guess before I go any further here, I feel like it's been some time since I've already talked about a celebrity of some sorts. I've already talked about some people out there like Sigourney Weaver, but maybe if I talk about another familiar actor that I've known for a long time, then, well, I guess it'd come full circle. So, just one look at the notepad here, and then we'll get going here. Well, what joy. Number 557 just so happens to be another celebrity. So, I guess we gotta talk about Chevy Chase. Oh yeah. I've been wanting to talk about Chase for a while. Chevy Chase, of course, was probably one of the best actors from way back in the day, especially throughout the 80s and 90s. Of course, during my time, I did have a VHS player, and I did have one of those old-fashioned tube televisions, those large boxes with a glass screen on it. I remember distinctively that it was a Magnavox VHS player that I had, or VCR as many of us would call it, and of course the television I had at the time was a Toshiba. So of course, that's a pretty good way to put it down. I had a Toshiba and a Magnavox. Those are two brands that we may not ultimately be very familiar with nowadays, but as a matter of fact, Toshiba and Magnavox are still around, and they are pretty good in the business of technology, even to this day. But aside from what kinds of stuff I had back in the day, Chevy Chase was, of course, an actor that I've known pretty darn well. If there are a few films that I could highlight, then, well, some obvious choices would probably be National Lampoon's Vacation or Man of the House. The 1995 version of Man of the House, and not the 2005 version, which pretty much has no significance or relation to the original one. Of course, Man of the House was another Disney movie from the year 1995, alongside others including The Thief and the Cobbler, which used to be called Arabian Night. That's Night with a K, like Night of the Wind. And not to mention Gordy, Babe, and even Toy Story. They all came out throughout that whole year of 1995, and I mean that whole year alone was a big time Disney year. I probably remember it so well, but of course I wasn't even around until a few years later. But I'll certainly never forget the fact that I did have dozens and dozens of VHS tapes. Most of them were relating to some of the old school Disney livelihood that was pretty much around during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But usually outside of Disney as well, because you never really know for sure what you might want to find out. Chevy Chase, of course, is probably one of those that I may never truly forget from that particular era. And even though Chase is still alive, you just never truly know for sure. Being that this actor is now 77 years old, which is great, I mean. Above all this, though, Chevy Chase, whether or not you have this guy from National Lampoon, or you have this person working with Disney, or you may have Chevy Chase out there amidst different productions from those times, then, well, I guess it's all dependent on whether or not you might be able to see Chase again, or whether or not the production companies who make these films nowadays are actually going to incorporate some of these new actors. Like if they hired them or whatnot. But whether or not they do, it's just a good feeling to have. To know that they're finally back in business at some point. because you haven't seen them for a long time, and well, now they're coming back, but I ain't so sure about Chevy Chase. But regardless of all that, this is an actor who may not have appeared in a lot of mainstream media, but of course, this is someone who has been around my life for a long time. And I can tell you that Chase will probably be around for life. So there we go. That's pretty much all I got to talk about Chevy Chase. I know I've probably missed a ton of titles that Chase was also involved in, but you know what? National Lampoon was a pretty big pick that I at least know about. And Man of the House was just an underrated modern classic, the way I see it. So, if you want to see more, go down to my channel. Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.